get you that one real quick. I won't take too long. I won't get on the road.
Oh, you too.
But let me just tell you what happened there. Trevor Berbick, may his soul rest in peace. I know he ain't resting in peace because he was somebody who has a man that's doing a lot of bad things, a lot of people that make people want to do what they did to him. That was to kill him. They did that. But just let me say that, just, and when he became the champion of the world, he called me up and said, Larry, I want to fight you. I said, sure, I'm not champion anymore, I'll fight you. And then he went and fought Mike Tyson. Now Mike Tyson knocked him out. Then he want to come back with me. I said, I don't need you. I can fight guys all day long and pick up $200,000, $300,000. I don't need you. And that's what I was doing. And what happened is I started fighting somebody down in Florida. And he came to my wife and my kids. Larry Holmes messed with my woman and did this and did that in front of my wife and my kids. And that angered me.
Clearly.
You don't mess with my wife and my kids. So I lost everything. So I went over the car, thought I was Batman or Superman or somebody. So they wouldn't let me get to him. I wanted to get to him. When I did get to him, I kicked him and kicked him and kicked him. Mr. Larry Holmes, you kicked me, you kicked me. I said, I ain't finished killing your ass yet. I'm gonna do more than that. But he ran, and I just said, I'm gonna get to him. And you should have seen, you'd have been proud of me. They had him on the ride, so I run over the car, and I jump over the car, and I give him a drop kick, bam. Everybody thought I was hurting myself, but I didn't hurt myself. I didn't hurt myself at all because I had a nice kick, and I fell to the ground, and of course everybody grabbed me. But I let them know that don't mess with my home. My home is my pride, my joy, my life, my living. So I went after him. But that didn't make me a great fighter. That made me feel sorry for him. But I shouldn't have done that. I lost my cool. And I try not to let too many people make me lose my cool. But I did, so that's one mistake I made. But you know, I hope never to make that kind of mistake again. But that still don't take away from my greatness in boxing.
Larry Holmes. Let's say right back to Larry. Next on the seniority list and actually gaining a little ground this week, someone who had a birthday this week, Evander Holyfield, the real deal.
Happy birthday, when we sing for you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Come on, y'all. Happy birthday, dear Holyfield. Happy birthday to you. Yeah.
So let's get to
How old are you now?
So let's get to the one thing right off the bat that everyone asks about. How many times a day does someone ask you about your ear?
A lot. You know, it's come a point where that people kind of recognize me by my ear. So, it ain't that bad.
You, one of the amazing things is, despite the obvious at that time bad blood between you and Mike Tyson, recently you and he were at an event and you hugged it out and you've obviously forgiven him. How do you, as a guy who had these wars with a guy who did something that ridiculous to you, how do you forgive a guy like that?
Well, forgiveness is just a part of life for me. It's how I was raised. My mama said you have to forgive to move on. When you don't forgive, you just pretty much hold yourself back. And you know, I popped up in professional boxing because I was able to forgive that guy that disqualified me, and I knocked everybody out in the Olympics. You know, I'm the one that got the bad call, but because I forgave, you know, it kind of popped me up in the game of boxing. I became the cruiserweight champion in 12 professional fights. And so it's just every time I forgive, I tend to move forward.
And you had to do some forgiving because I don't know what it was about your fights, whether it was Tyson fighting you seemed to attract nuttiness in your fight. Again, if we have a clip ready, everyone has seen this before. What year was this when you were fighting and you got interrupted in the middle of the fight?
Oh, that was 1993.
1993.
Fan Man.
Fan Man. Everyone remember Fan Man? Okay, the clip is coming, but you're in the middle of a fight. You're throwing punches, and suddenly, what do you see when all of a sudden the ref jumps in the middle?
Well, actually, you know, Red Bull coming towards me. And here this guy.
Someone is loose. And somebody in a parachute has just landed on the edge of the ring, has been pulled away by security guards. The fight has been brought to a halt. There's a massive melee at ringside as this fellow with a motorized parachute has landed right on top of spectators and officials at ringside. He's in the midst of a mass of security guards now. Rock Newman, Riddick Bowe's manager, was right there. This is a monumental disaster. Right now, police are filing by me at ringside.
So again, you're standing there throwing punches in Mills Lane. You suddenly jump back, and Mills Lane jumps in. And what did you see?
Well, the guy coming in the ring, which is the hardest thing in the world. You never find somebody trying to get in. You find somebody trying to get out. So here's this guy coming in. He coming in at the time that I finally got ready to bow tie. And you know, and I found out the biggest art on that thing is Red Bull get knocked out, everybody gonna win the money. So Red Bull would cut, he would bleed, and he had that frustrated look on his face. And said one thing about Red Bull had this saying said, Red Bull would always tell me, because we used to be sparring partners, he used to always tell me, a good big man better than a good little man. He loved to tell me that. He got these big old hands, this big old beef heart. A good big man better than a good little man. I said, okay, you want to believe that? You know, I'm saying the world don't run by big people or small people. The world run by people who apply what they know. So I finally got him to the point I was buzzing him up. And he was bleeding 3 different places. And the fan man came. Like that, you know, that 20-minute rest ticked me off because I realized that, oh my goodness, I got to fight another 6 round like this again because I almost had it. I almost had him, and all of a sudden that fan man saved me.
A few years ago, you appeared on TV, opened yourself, broadened your exposure to a lot of people who never really knew who you were necessarily as a boxer before. What was it like appearing on the Super Dave Osborne show? I'm kidding. What was it like? I did see that on TV the other day. If you look at the replays, there is an Evander Holyfield appearance on Super Dave. Dancing with the Stars. You went on there. Did the footwork from boxing help when you were doing that?
Well, no. I'm like, you know, they tricked me into that because I would never, ever do that again. You know, because, you know, boxing's a tough sport, but that's tougher than boxing. You know, I'm about dancing 8 hours a day, practice 8 hours a day. I'm like, you know, and you know, so many things I had to go back and because I used to always tell my sisters, they tell me their feet hurt so bad and they had them high heels on. Now, and in practice, they give some heels a little higher than mine. My feet was hurting. I had to say, please, can I just take the time to take these shoes off? Because the feet kept sliding down. So I realized that, you know, women do go through a lot of things that men don't go through. We kind of take it for granted because you don't never wear my shoes. And man, my feet was killing me.